Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. Tonight is Tuesday, December 1st, 7 o'clock. You can watch the meeting in the courtroom, at Town Hall, or streamed on YouTube. I'm Mayor Dawn Morgan. I want to welcome everyone to this meeting. We'll begin tonight with an invocation by Reverend Pete Kunkel, First Christian Church of Kernersville.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we come intently tonight, praying for our country, praying for our community, and many of the victims of COVID-19. Lord, we pray for their families, that you would give them strength and encourage them through this time. For the numbers rising, Lord, we pray that you would intervene, that you would take this disease out of the country, out of the world, and that you would bring us back to some normalcy. I know that you have the power to do that. In the name of Jesus, I ask that you would. I pray for our community and all of our leaders. I know this is a difficult time and many things have changed within our lives, but Lord, help us to be faithful to you. I know that you can lead us through and will. So I pray your blessing upon our leaders tonight as they meet, that you would direct their steps and that you would lead them where you would have them to go. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Kunkel. And now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Recently, Mayor Pro Tem Fulton and I had the pleasure of visiting with a Girl Scout troop, and they recorded the Pledge of Allegiance for us for the meeting. And so now for the Girl Scouts with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll begin this evening a little differently than we have been beginning, because there are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. So we'll go directly to the public session. Are there any individuals who'd like to address the board on an item that is not otherwise addressed on the agenda who are present in the courtroom this evening? Mr. Swisher?
No, Madam Mayor, but you're going to do a roll call of the board members and staff.
That would be a good idea. I was trying to get everybody set. Everybody's ready? We'll do a roll call first. And Adam, if you could check and see if there's any callers while we do the roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton? Present, thank you. Thank you. Alderman Bruce Boyer?
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Kenny Cruz?
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Chris Thompson?
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Joe Penix?
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Then we have our staff, Town Manager Curtis Swisher.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Town Clerk Keith Hooker.
Present.
Thank you. Our IT Director Adam Hutchins is here. Our Town Attorney John Wolf.
Present, Mayor.
Thank you. Our Finance Director Franz Ader.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Our Parks and Rec Director Ernie Pages.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Our Police Chief Tim Summers.
He is in the courtroom.
Thank you. Our Fire Rescue Chief Scott Alderman.
Good evening, everyone present.
Thank you. Our Public Services Director Doran Malta.
Present, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Our Human Resources Director Crystal Tanner is in the courtroom. And our Community Development Director, Jeff Hatling.
Present, Mayor Morgan. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else from our town staff that's present in the courtroom, Mr. Swisher?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So tonight is a little different. You'll see many of the aldermen, Mayor Pro Tem, town manager in masks. They are in the courtroom section of our town hall. I'm in one of the offices. Mr. Hatling's in one of the offices, et cetera. If in pursuant to compliance with the governor's order, given that they're in a shared meeting space, they're wearing masks. That is why. All right. So we don't have any speakers from the floor who are present in the courtroom. Is there anyone who is called in?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. We are to 1B in the public session, consideration of a North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund project agreement for the renovation of Civitan Park. Mr. Swisher?
Madam Mayor, I'll cover some of this and then let Ernie Pages cover any of it that you may have other questions about. This is the grant that we asked the permission of the board to apply for, and we have been awarded the Part F grant of $263,533. We also have roughly probably another $75,000 in external funds. So we have, right now, we are sure of $348,000 in funding to go toward this project. The total cost of the project is $1.6 million. And it's what this will do. This will totally renovate Civitan Park. This is the park over on Nelson Street, right behind Fire Station 41. This park has been in need of an upgrade for probably the last 15 years. We have had to close the tennis courts down at that park. We also periodically have to close the playground down because of the area surrounding the playground floods out really bad, so we have to close it down. The only thing that we really use on a consistent basis there is the shelter and also the basketball court. There is one basketball court there. So it's a total project of $1.6 million. The town would have $350,000, which means that the remaining funding, unless we get some more, would be $1.2 million. Is what the town would have to come up with for that project. We have also applied for an LWCF grant. That is for $500,000. We have not heard about that grant. By now, we would usually know about the grant, but the grant funding was delayed. So we don't have any information on that grant yet, but we anticipate hearing by the end of December, we hope, or sometime along the middle of February about that grant. So if we are awarded that grant, and we feel pretty good about getting that grant also. So if we are awarded that grant, then it would leave us about $700,000 on a $1.6 million project. So, we feel it's a good opportunity to do this project. We are required by the grant to have the project complete in 3 years. There is one part of it, which I think is the next item on your agenda, the National Fitness Campaign Grant. That's $103,000. That requires that portion of it. I think it's a fitness court maybe, to be done by June of 2021. Our intention would be, if the board approves this, is we would start moving forward with the final design of it and some of the contract bidding so that we can meet the first part and then move on with the remaining part of the grant so that we can complete it in 3 years. We understand and realize that of course, it is $1.6 million total, somewhere between 1.2 and 700,000 for the town, but it's also probably good opportunity for us to take advantage of with the grant funding. We're never guaranteed grant funding, but we were fortunate enough. Ernie and his staff did a great job putting together the proposal and submitting it. And like I say, we were awarded this one grant, and we feel pretty confident maybe that we will be awarded the other one. So that's my part of it. If you have any questions, Ernie Pages is also on. He can answer any questions that you may have about the project as well.
Thank you, Mr. Swisher. Mr. Pages, do you have anything to add at this time?
I don't have anything to add. Just a clarification. The grant is for $263,533. The other grant is for $25,000. The National Fitness Campaign is the grant is $25,000. It's got some matching funds from a private donor, and then some matching funds from the actual Civitan Club that have donated some funds in other savings accounts towards the project. But the overall project for that section is $103,000. So I just want to clarify those numbers a little bit, and if you had any questions on that, but I have nothing else to add besides that.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have a quick question, Mayor. Curtis, you said it's 3 years, and I see it goes through October 31st of 2023. But when you read that first page under Part 2, it says that we agree to begin development on the Part F acquired land within 5 years. So I'm just wondering if we can take advantage and give us a little more time just in case. And then my other question is, I love the design. This looks great. Do we have bathrooms over there? Because I couldn't locate them on this.
Yes, the bathrooms are in the blue building in the middle, or behind the blue building in the middle, if I'm correct. And what was your first question? Before I missed the page.
Okay. I know this 3-year deal under number 2 says the grant is free
To begin development on acquired land within 5 years of the date of this contract. So I'm wondering if we should, if we could have 5 years on it just to give us more time.
Can I answer that?
Yes, go ahead.
If you acquire land, empty land for a park project, that kicks off a 5-year timeline to finish the development of whatever you plan on putting on the piece of property. If you have a renovation project or a park like we do, then it's 3 years. You're not adding additional land.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for that clarification.
Separate. Yeah.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
I'd also like to take, I just want to say one of the restrooms will have a restroom portion to it. So it'll be enlarged and it'll have a restroom onto it where the shelters will be.
Okay, is there further discussion or questions? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fulton. I have a second by Alderman Chris Thompson. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson, how do you vote?
I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. All right, on public session, again, item C, more about Civitan Park, consideration of a resolution for a National Fitness Campaign grant for the fitness court at Civitan Park. Mr. Swisher?
Yes, ma'am. This is the one I was referring to, that we have to begin construction and launch the outdoor fitness court by the end of the 2021 calendar year. It's a $25,000 national grant from a National Fitness Campaign with a local match in the amount of $103,000. That $103,000 is part of the $1.6 million I explained earlier. So this is part of the overall park. We just have to have a separate resolution for this particular part, since we are receiving or been awarded the grant from the National Fitness Campaign for the outdoor fitness court. And that is a component of the overall park.
Okay, Mr. Pages, do you have anything to add?
I do not. That's pretty much all of it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions?
I have no questions. I would like to thank Ernie and staff for all the effort that you put into this. I know this has been going on for some time, and I personally, I think that park has needed renovation probably for longer than 15 years, Curtis. I think it's going to help that side of town. I'm sure that Providence Baptist Church is going to be very happy to see something done over there, as well as the surrounding neighbors. So I'd motion to approve.
I have a motion by Alderman Thompson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Boyer. And we'll do a roll call vote since this is a remote meeting. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
In favor, thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to also echo Alderman Thompson's comments. That is a park that myself and my 3 children spent a lot of time at as they were growing up. And it's really convenient being in the middle of town. There are a lot of housing units nearby. A lot of people can walk to that park. If you live close enough to walk to that park, 4th of July Park with the big new expanded playground and the amenities there is available. So I think that the fitness court will just be very well received and very popular in the community. Improvements to the tennis courts have been needed for a long time, and the programming possibilities that this opens up for the town of Kernersville, serving the needs of youth, are very, very exciting. So I think this is an excellent project, and I would like to also thank Ernie, Curtis, and the town staff working so hard on these grant funding requests. I think the grants are very well deserved, and I'm very excited that Kernersville was chosen as recipients of them. And I really and deeply appreciate the funding from the Civitans who helped get this park open to begin with, and their continuing commitment to improving this park and to children in Kernersville. So just excellent project. Thank you very much. Is there anything else before we move on?
I'd just like to thank everyone for it. I'm tickled to see something on my side of the tracks. I walked through Nelson Street when Nelson Street extension by Lowe's wasn't nothing but a pig path that I rode my little micro midget. And we walked out through there and played and hunted. And I spent a lot of time traveling through there the few days I went to school and at night to the ball games. And I'm tickled to see something come on our side of the tracks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, then we'll move on to item D, consideration of the 2021 Board of Aldermen meeting schedule. I hope that everyone has had a chance to review that. It has some shifting of dates to accommodate holidays and town events, but we could discuss it if there's any changes proposed, or do I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
I put all the dates on my calendar. I'll be glad to make a motion to approve.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Boyer and a second by Alderman Thompson. Is there any more discussion? All right, Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer.
In favor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is election of the mayor pro tem. This is an annual vote as required by the town charter. The aldermen choose the mayor pro tem and take a vote on it every December. So are there any thoughts, considerations, action by the aldermen?
I'll be glad to make a motion that Mayor Pro Tem Fulton continue in that role.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Alderman Boyer, a second by Alderman Thompson. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, are you interested in continuing in this role?
Oh, yes, I'd be honored. Thank you, guys.
Okay, it's a lot of extra responsibility, so just wanted to give you the courtesy of asking.
Oh, thank you. I'm in favor.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote? Oh, in favor.
In favor.
Okay. Alderman Boyer?
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson?
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Congratulations. All right. The next item is update on COVID-19. Town manager Curtis Swisher and I are serving on a Reopen Forsyth County task force. He's also involved in information that is given to our, police department, fire department as to COVID-19 and the impact on Forsyth County. And I think that he and our town clerk have done a good job with being a central point of contact for the town for questions when people have questions about how the governor's orders impact their activities in Kernersville. So I wanted to take a few moments so Mr. Swisher could kind of bring us up to date on some of the things that we're dealing with as a town and that he is seeing as town manager. So Mr. Swisher?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a slide presentation. It may be a little delayed because Jeff's running that. So I'll have to tell him when to change it. Jeff, you'll move to the next slide. I've put together a timeline, kind of went back but I didn't go through the whole timeline, but basically we started with the first executive order from the governor came out on March the 10th of 2020. Sometime in that same time frame, Mayor Morgan declared a state of emergency for the town of Kernersville. In April 14th of 2020, Mayor Morgan amended the state of declaration or the declaration of the state of emergency that we were under to include the Forsyth County State of Emergency Declaration dated the same date, April 14th, 2020. And it's what that essentially did was that adopted the governor's state of emergency as well. So we tagged on with Forsyth County with their state of emergency so that we would not have one and Forsyth County have one. There were several municipalities in Forsyth County that did that. And as of right now, we are still under that state of emergency declaration, which follows the states and the governor's executive orders. So I'm going to skip forward to get us to where we are kind of right now. So on September, go one slide back, Jeff, the one you were just on. So on September the 30th of this year, Governor Cooper issues executive order number 169. That was the first order dealing with phase 3. We are still under the phase 3 guidelines. So we are still under some version of executive order 169. As you'll see in a minute, it has been amended several times. One of the first amendments to that was order number 170. That extended the phase 3 order through November the 13th of 2020. Jeff, click over. On November the 10th, before order number 170 expired, Governor Cooper issued order number 176. This was a further extension of phase 3 and it carried everything out until December the 4th of 2020 at 5 p.m. It also included additional measures that the governor felt necessary to protect public health. This order, number 176, essentially lowered the mass gathering limits indoors to 10 people and outdoors to 50 people. They had went up to 25 people indoors and in some areas 100 people outdoors. This order lowered them back down. It also amended the limit for group activities to 25 individuals indoors, and it also limited the guests in each room, basically within the museum, to 25 people. So it changed that order on November the 10th, changed some of the mass gathering limits and set them back to where they were. Went along another 13 days, and the governor issued the order that we are currently under, which is order number 180. So it's Executive Order 180. It also extended the period for this to expire. Number 180 does not expire until December the 11th of 2020. And it had some additional guidelines put in place, mainly focused on face coverings. As the mayor mentioned earlier, everyone in the courtroom now is wearing a face covering. Initially, we were not required to do that if we could maintain 6 feet of distance. Under new Order 180, you are required to wear a face covering when indoors if you're not in a room by yourself or in a room with someone of your household. So basically, you can see that on there. The face covering requirements apply to people, everyone 5 years old and older, unless there's an exception that applies. There is a list of exceptions in the order. I will not go through those. There are probably 15 of those exceptions. But if you fall under one of those, you do not have to wear the face covering indoors. So November 23rd, about a week ago, this came out. We are still under it. Jeff, you'll click over. And keep in mind, all of these orders, mainly all of the new orders amended order number 169, which was the first phase 3 order. However, to really find out what happened, order number 169 amended order 163. So some of them you have to track back to see how it applies. As you'll see, what I just talked about there, required face coverings in all public indoor settings, even if people will be more than 6 feet away. And also, it also addresses outdoors, must be worn outdoors if it is not possible to be consistent, if it is not possible to consistently be physically distant by more than 6 feet from non-household members. So it now applies to people outdoors exercising. If you're outdoors exercising and you're with a non-household member, then you need to wear a mask. That's what it's saying. And you can see that in the next one, outdoors and within 6 feet of someone who does not reside in the household. If you're inside exercising, you have to wear a mask, even if you are 6 foot apart. There is an exception. I do not understand why there is an exception for professional and collegiate athletes, but there is. There is not an exception for high school athletes, just professional and collegiate. Jeff, you'll move to the next one. You can see that. The workers in museums and aquariums, we don't have an aquarium, we do have a museum. They must wear face coverings when they're inside and when they're outside within 6 feet of another person. Restaurants, all workers must wear face coverings. All guests must wear face coverings when they're not actively drinking or eating. Retail businesses, all workers must wear face coverings, and all guests must wear face coverings. No distance. It does not matter if you're 6 feet or not. If you're inside a retail business, you have to wear a face covering. In addition, retail businesses with more than 15,000 square feet, so basically your larger box stores, they must have a worker at the entrance who is responsible for monitoring the face coverings and also monitoring the number of people inside the establishment. So they have to have someone there telling you can't go in because there's too many people, or telling you to put on your mask. That is part of the new executive order that was not part of the other orders. In the other orders, they were strongly encouraged. Now they are mandated and required. Jeff, you'll go over to the next one. Get to that. Executive Order 180 strengthened the enforcement related to face coverings. Law enforcement officers may cite the people who failed to wear face coverings as required by the executive order, and or they may cite a business or organization that failed to enforce the requirement to wear a face covering. In the previous executive orders, they did not cite the individuals. They just cited the business. And now it goes one step further. If a business or organization refuses to allow a worker or a guest to come in, and that guest refuses to leave, law enforcement can enforce the trespassing laws and any other laws. The penalty for noncompliance with Executive Order 180 is the same as it has been with the other executive orders. It is considered a Class 2 misdemeanor. So it is a criminal offense. There has been some discussion recently, especially in some municipalities surrounding us, that have said they are going to make it a civil penalty of $500 or $1,000. I will tell you, and I think Mr. Wolf will opine the same, you cannot do that as a municipality because you cannot impose a civil penalty on something that is already a criminal penalty. You do not have the authority to do that. Even if you make it an ordinance that a mask is required and then you want to cite them for violating the ordinance, you still cannot do that. So while some other municipalities have done that, I would not recommend doing it because I think if we do that and we fine someone $500 or $1,000, we are wasting our time. So I wouldn't recommend that. You can ask Mr. Wolf his opinion when I'm done, and he can tell you his opinion as well. So local government operations, as I've said before, we are still exempt from the mass gathering limits. So you could technically have a board meeting with people in the courtroom. We would need to adhere to the social distancing guidelines, but not necessarily the mass gathering limits. So it depends on how many we could hold in the courtroom safely 6 foot apart. If that was more than 10 people, we could do that. We would not have to adhere to the 10 people indoors. And we are strongly encouraged to follow the requirements for face covering. Many activities, the good thing about the new Executive Order 180 is it did not prohibit any of the activities really that were in the Executive Order 169. They're still allowing those activities to take place. You just now have to either have a different number of people participating in those activities, or you are required to wear a face covering. So, Jeff, you'll move forward. So that gives you kind of an update on where we are with the executive orders. Measures that we've taken here with the town. We reopened town facilities on June 29th of this year, and we ceased telework with a few exceptions on July 1st. So all of our employees came back. They have been back during that time. We do have a few that are still not here every day on a daily basis that are still teleworking. We are doing mandatory screening and temperature checks daily for all employees, and also for anyone entering any town facility has to do the same. We've hosted 2 COVID testing events here at Town Hall, one on October 16th, one on November the 4th. And then, we came back in July. We had, July, August, September, about 5 months. The numbers started to increase in this area. So we met, Crystal Tanner and myself met and discussed it. We met with department heads, and we gave them the option of allowing employees in their department to resume teleworking, not come into the office. We have had some individuals, some employees that have taken advantage of this. We've done this to, in case we have an outbreak here at Town Hall, we still have some folks that are at home that can come fill in. But we still have a good number of employees here at Town Hall, and we do have some still that have went back to teleworking. November 19th, not long after we met with the department heads, Governor Cooper came out and he presented the county alert system. Basically, it's what that is. There's 3 colors, yellow, orange, and red. Yellow being the best, so to speak, red being the worst. And there are 2 or 3 different factors that determine which color you are. One of those is the number of cases, a percentage per 100,000 population. Another one's the number of hospitalizations. I forget what the third criteria is. Forsyth County was and still is, just barely, an orange county. That may have changed recently, but it was right on the edge of being an orange or a red county. Again, red being the worst. We met some of the requirements, unfortunately, met some of the requirements to be a red county. I think our percentage per 100,000 population was high enough, but I think our hospitalizations at the time were low enough that we did not meet 2 of the criteria. So we remained orange. Again, we could be red now, but I think we're still orange. So when that came out, we sent out some more information to employees. We reemphasized to employees that the necessary steps that they should be doing to help stop the spread, sent out more communications about the 3 W's, and we also encouraged them to download the Slow COVID NC app on their town devices. We've also done some other things. Since that time, we've limited the number of in-person meetings with outside customers and with staff members. We've encouraged staff to hold Zoom meetings, go-to meetings, whatever they feel necessary. If they do have in-person meetings, a lot of those meetings will take place in conference rooms where they can distance 6 feet apart, still wear their mask. We have restricted any unnecessary travel and training. We've asked them to only do that which is necessary or required for certifications. We notified, as soon as it came out, notified department heads of the mandates related to Executive Order 180 and the expectations of them and their employees. That was mainly in regards to the face covering guidelines. We are now here at Town Hall. We were wearing our face coverings before when we went out into the public area of Town Hall. Now we wear them if we're in our office with someone else. We wear the face coverings. If we're out of our office, we wear the face coverings. As the mayor mentioned, we're here in the courtroom. There's probably 7 of us here in the courtroom. Everyone has a face covering on in here. So we notified department heads of that and all employees of that, and they are adhering to those guidelines. And we also implemented mass gathering limits for town operations. This is mainly over in Parks and Recreation, where they follow the mass gathering limits for all of their league play, their games, classes they may host, etc. Ernie has also implemented the face covering requirement there because, again, they have to, in some sports that they play, soccer, lacrosse, things like that, they get within 6 feet of one another at some point in time. So they will wear the face covering during the entire game. We've also implemented it for cross-country events. They are now required. They're required to anyway by the High School Athletic Association. But we have also required them to wear their mask at any time except for when they're running. So it's what they do is they wear it to the start line. They take it off when the race starts. They carry it with them. They put it on as soon as they finish, and they move through the finish line. So anything that's taking place outside, they have that on. Jeff, you'll go to the next one. Got some slides I'll cover here with you. Let me get over to my notes. I made a few notes on some of them. The first one is the total cases here in North Carolina. As you can see, those numbers continue to increase. The yellow line represents the total number of cases. We are a little bit above 350,000. Now, this is a little bit old. It's November the 22nd, so it's about a week and a half old. That number has increased slightly since then. The 7-day average is just slightly behind the total number of cases. And the total number of cases is so far in North Carolina. Jeff, you'll go to the next slide. This is for Forsyth County. It's the active cases by day. So it's the total number of cases. The yellow line is the total number of cases that are active as of that date, which is November the 27th, maybe the 28th. We've got about 2,260 cases active in Forsyth County, November the 28th. That number has not came down. It was it's either right there or a little bit more than that. And then you see the blue line is the 7-day average. They run pretty close together. And so you'll know Crystal Tanner and our HR director, she tracks these numbers every day, so that we will have that information to assist us in making decisions regarding our employees and our staff and the programs and so forth that we offer. The number that has really increased is the active hospitalizations in Forsyth County. This is old number. I have today's number. It came out at somewhere around 5 or 5:30, so I did not update the slide. But on November the 16th, as you see, it was about 55 active hospitalizations in Forsyth County. Today, that number is 73, so it has went up 18 people in about the last 15 days. So it's going up about one per day for the last 15 days. The 7-day average is a little bit below that. Over a period of 7 days, we're averaging around 40 active hospitalizations. And as you all are aware from what you hear in the news, the hospitalizations are really a number that they track a lot. That tells you what the virus is doing and how bad it is in certain areas. This number, the total cases by zip code, I'll tell you who we track so that you can see. It's Blues Creek, Walkertown, Walnut Cove, Winston-Salem, High Point, Kernersville, Stokesdale, and Summerfield. So it's what we've done is we've taken the zip code, most of the zip codes of our employees, and we've tracked the cases in those zip codes so that we know where our employees live. We can kind of stay aware of what the case count is and their zip codes, what it looks like. The yellow line there on the top, yellowish orange line, is Winston-Salem. Total number of cases in Winston-Salem is a little over 2,000 so far. Kernersville, we're not far behind them. We're the green line, and we're at about 1,650. So far in Kernersville, since May the 1st, since we've been tracking it, we've had a little over 1,600 cases in Kernersville. That is not necessarily in the city limits, but it is in the 27284 zip code. The lowest one of those that we track is Blues Creek. They are somewhere around the 50 number. So they've had the lowest number, but it's also probably the area with the lowest population. And the last one that we have, Jeff, you'll click over, is the new cases by day in the Kernersville city limits. So the active cases are represented by the red line. We peaked out somewhere around the 23rd of November. We had about 115 active cases inside the city limits of Kernersville. It is down now. On the 28th, 2 or 3 days ago, it was down to about 98. And as of today, we got new information on this as well. Today, we are back up to about 108. So we have almost reached back to the highest point as far as the number of cases per day active in the city limits. So we track all of that data, and we make a lot of our decisions on that as far as teleworking and what other policies we need to implement. This is COVID started, as I mentioned earlier, somewhere around March of this year. And obviously it has continued to go on. And right now it has gotten worse. We are not anticipating seeing that change anytime soon, definitely through the winter. Mix in that the flu, which is not good by itself either. So we really don't know what's going to happen, but we are implementing policies and procedures to try and keep our employees safe and also try to keep the citizens safe when they participate in any of the activities that the town offers or when they come to town hall to do business with any of our staff here. Our public safety personnel, police, fire, they follow these guidelines as well, so that when they interact with the public on an emergency call, we try to keep the public as safe as we can, as well as employees interacting with the public. So we have dual concerns, obviously. Our concern is for our employees, our staff, and also the citizens of Kernersville when they're interacting and doing business with the town. So we are following the guidelines set forth by the governor. We are doing some enforcement. We have received some calls and some complaints about businesses in town that are not adhering to the governor's orders. Our first step is to educate those businesses, to go out and talk to the business owners and to notify them. It's not really notify them, but to make them aware of the order, what the order says, and to give them an opportunity to correct what they're doing. That has been successful. We have not received any complaints in several weeks. We did receive some leading up to Thanksgiving about people having large gatherings at their house. And we'll tell you that was very difficult to enforce because it's hard to tell who's in the house and who's a member of the household, who's not. So we are enforcing those that we can by way of education. Forsyth County Health Department has started sending out letters to businesses in the county that are not following the new order regarding face coverings. If they're not following the order regarding social distancing, mass gathering limits, they are sending out letters as well. So it is, I think the enforcement and the education about the orders has picked up and increased quite a bit here in the last 2 weeks. And so we will continue to monitor the governor's orders. I think this one expires December the 11th, which is next week. So he most likely will come out with either an extension of that or a completely new order. And we'll just have to monitor that as we have the rest of them and make the necessary changes to be in compliance. That's all I have regarding the COVID. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Crystal Tanner's also here. She's done a great job of keeping up with the orders, keeping up with what we need to do from a town standpoint with our employees, so she can answer any questions as well that you may have.
Curtis, thank you for the report. It's very thorough and provided a lot of information. As you so eloquently described, the orders have come out piecemeal, and it is very good for us all to see together how they fit together and make sure that we have a good understanding of how this situation develops so that we can explain it when people ask questions. I do have a question I know you're working closely with Forsyth County Health Department and the director, Jonathan Swift, and he has stated that they've developed a plan for Forsyth County in cooperation with the state plan, and that they're planning to do immunizations once a vaccine is available at the Dixie Classic or the Carolina Classic Fairgrounds at the buildings there. Do you have a good sense yet from the county as to where our essential town staff will fall in line as far as being eligible to have that vaccine? Police, fire, and sanitation, I think, would probably be pretty high on the list. Do you have any idea of when that might happen?
They have not given a specific, or at least I've not heard it, a specific timeline for when that will happen, the date that it will come in. My understanding, and there's been a lot of discussion about, what personnel will receive the vaccination, what order. I think your frontline, really healthcare workers, hospital workers, nurses, doctors, those folks will receive the first round when it comes in. And then right behind them will be your emergency safety workers, police, fire, EMS. Those folks will be in the top 2 or 3 groups to receive it. They have not told us for sure that that will be the order, but that's what I've heard. Seems to be the most that I've heard as far as timeline goes and order goes. So I don't know about other personnel other than your public safety and your healthcare workers, what order they will receive it in. There is some discussion that some of the residents and nursing homes and the care facilities such as that will also receive the vaccination early on, because it seems to spread rapidly in those facilities. So they're going to try and get them the vaccination. But they're anticipating initially that the first round of vaccinations may be here by the end of December for some of those folks, but I don't know. And I do not know if that's been pushed back. So, I don't know the timeline on it, but that's what they were talking, and that's the order that it seemed to go in. Now that both of those may change before December is ended. So my opinion, I think probably a more realistic time frame for vaccination to get here is sometime probably in January or February. But it's just hard to tell. You hear all kinds of different timelines. So I really don't know. I do know for Forsyth County Emergency Management, they are working on developing a plan to get the healthcare workers, first responders, all of those folks vaccinated up front, to get them vaccinated, and then do a distribution of the vaccination to basically the general population. Chief Aldermen is on the phone. He may have been working closer with Forsyth County EMS or Forsyth County Emergency Management. He might be able to give you some update as well. Chief, do you have any other information to add on that?
No, sir, I do not. What you said in regards to the order of vaccination, we're hearing that we're going to be somewhere between phase 1B and phase 2 as far as the emergency responders getting vaccinated.
And is it still a December time frame when they're expecting the first round of vaccines, or has that been pushed back?
I have not heard any updates other than potentially the end of December.
Okay. Yeah. So it's still still up in the air.
Why do you think it had been pushed back, Curtis?
I think I may have read somewhere, Mayor, that it had been pushed back nationwide, not just in Forsyth County, but nationwide.
Does anyone else have questions?
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you. Appreciate your thorough report. All right, back to the agenda. We are on item 1G, consideration of Governor's Crime Commission grant. Mr. Swisher?
Madam Mayor, we received this information from the Governor's Crime Commission this week, and so we were able to get it on the agenda. That was added a little bit late. We have been awarded a grant from the Governor's Crime Commission, the amount of $24,499.97. That is to be used for equipment to help fight and deter crime. There is no match required on the town's part. So it is $24,499 that we will receive to go toward equipment if the board so chooses to approve the grant.
Okay, are there questions or discussion? Or do I have a motion? Okay, got a motion by Alderman Thompson, second by Alderman Penix.
That's correct.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer?
You're on mute, Alderman Boyer.
Sorry, in favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson?
In favor, thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Penix?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next item for consideration is the consent agenda. All of the following matters are considered to be routine by the Board of Aldermen and will be enacted by one motion, with no separate discussion unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the matter will be removed from the consent agenda and considered under the following item. A, approval of minutes for October 23 special session. B, approval of minutes for October 23 closed session. C, approval of minutes for October 28 briefing meeting. D, approval of minutes for October 28 closed session. E, approval of minutes for November 4 regular meeting. Would anyone on the board like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Okay, Curtis, any of the staff in attendance at the meeting or in the courtroom, would anyone like to have an item removed from the consent agenda?
No one in the courtroom would.
Okay, thank you. All right, do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
A motion to approve items A through E of the consent agenda.
Okay, a motion by Chris Thompson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Alderman Cruz. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
In favor. Thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 4 is speakers from the floor. Mr. Hutchins, is there anyone who's called in who'd like to address the board on a non-agenda item? Thank you. And Mr. Swisher, just want to confirm there's no one who's entered the courtroom to address the board.
There's no one here.
Thank you. All right, item 5 is the town manager's report. And we have as an agenda item listed under that, consideration of a grant application to the North Carolina Division of Water Resources. So if you could address that and anything else you have to present tonight.
Yes, ma'am. This was a grant that we found out about this morning, actually, that we could apply for. The good news is these funds from this grant, it is a North Carolina Division of Water Resources grant for $200,000. The board accepted and approved a grant last month or the month before from North Carolina Land and Water Grant in the amount of $400,000. That grant requires a 50% match. We were going to match that grant through our stormwater fund, but we may not have to if we are awarded the Division of Water Resources grant that you have before you tonight in the amount of $200,000. That $200,000 can be used toward the $400,000. So our match would be covered by this $200,000. So we would like to ask the board to let us apply for this North Carolina Division of Water Resources grant for $200,000. And if we're awarded the grant, then we will use it to match the other $400,000, our part of that $400,000 grant that we were awarded a couple months ago. We will use it to continue the Ivy Redmond stream restoration project. As you all are aware, we have undertaken a large project out there to restore that stream. We have already completed part of that, the portion that runs down behind the soccer fields. So this will allow us to do another portion of that stream as far as the restoration goes. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Dorn Malt was also on the line, and he can answer any questions that you may have as well. So essentially, it would require no additional funds from the town to be awarded this $200,000 if we are awarded that.
Are there any questions or discussion, or do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to
I'll make
approve.
the motion. I'll second to Chris's motion then.
All right, I have a motion by Alderman Thompson, second by Alderman Cruz. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Boyer.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Thompson.
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr.
And I
Swisher,
have
do you have any?
Just one more item, Madam Mayor, and it does not require any board approval. Just wanted to let the board know it's as you all know, the Rotary Club in Kernersville has a 5K every year in July the 4th, that we usually run on the parade route. Of course, this year that had to wait a little while. So we are going to attempt to have that 5K a week from this Saturday on December the 12th. We will start at 5:30 p.m. It will be ran in waves of 50 people at one time. And we hope to be fortunate enough to have 10 waves. But right now it looks like we might be fortunate to have one wave. So either way, but I want to let you know there will be a couple of roads that will be blocked for a few hours. We will close Broad Street from Harmon Lane back to Pineview, and we will also close Harmon Lane from English Street up to Pineview Street. The remaining roads, it will not run the parade route. It will go down Mountain Street. It will go behind BB&T Bank, go behind the factory, and then go down Main Street back to Harmon Lane. What we will do there is we will place cones on the road, have the runners run on the other side of the cones. We'll have volunteers and officers out as well to make sure everybody's safe. But just wanted you to know, in case you got some questions about the roads being closed and so forth, that's what it's for. We are anticipating that the governor will not make that a prohibited activity in his new order, but we will wait and see. If he does, of course, then we'll have to make other plans. But right now the plan is to do it with groups of 50, and hopefully we can get it done. So we'll see. But just wanted you to know that in case you had any questions about folks out running. You might get a call that says we didn't think that was allowed or whatever. It is allowed. You just have to do it in small groups. So
Could you repeat the route, since it's a different route?
It will start on Broad Street, almost at the very end of Broad Street near Pineview. It will come up. It will make a right onto Harmon Lane. It will go up to English Street, turn on English Street. It'll come out on Mountain Street. It'll take a left. It'll go down Mountain Street to Short Street. It'll turn on Short Street, go behind BB&T Bank, go behind Bank of America. Then it will take a right on Railroad Street. It'll run around behind the factory. It'll hook back in there at North Main Street. And we'll make a left on North Main and go down to Harmon Lane. Make a left on Harmon Lane and go down to where Harmon Lane and Broad Street intersect. And we will run that same loop again. And then when we get back to Harmon and Broad for the second time, the runners will turn right and go up Broad Street to about Dr. Walker's office, and that will be the finish. We are required basically so that we don't violate the mass gathering limits. We're also required to have the start and finish in two different locations. So we'll do that. That way you don't have everybody assembled in one place. So we'll see how it works. They have been doing several races around the state, and that's how they are doing all of them, in groups of 50. It's a little different. If you go out of state, you can run as many as you want to at one time, depending on what state you're in. But here it's 50 people at once.
Curtis, I hope you can get enough Broads to beautify Broad Street and make it successful.
I hope so. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, matters to be presented by the town attorney. Do you have anything other than a closed session?
No, ma'am, that's all. Thank you.
All right, we'll wait and call that closed session in a few moments then. Is there anything that the board would like to present? Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, do you have anything you'd like to present tonight?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I just have a couple things. Curtis, or probably Doran. There is like glass windshield that's broken over on Arbor Ridge Road. It's been over there for probably about a month. Rather than going to the storage unit every other day. I noticed it again today. if we can look at that, because it is in front of apartments, so I worry about children getting in that. Also, I just want to give a little shout out to the police. Y'all are doing a great job on social media. 9 p.m. lock your doors. It's very consistent, so nice job there. Ernie, can we also reach out to Providence Church now that we've approved for the grant? And just bring them in the loop for our plan, since we did meet with them earlier this year. I think that would be very considerate, and plus they're a vital part of this over at Civitan. If that's okay, Ernie. And if you want me to meet with y'all, do it.
Yeah, I planned on getting with them. I'm waiting on Withers and Ravenel to send me a quote on the engineering plans. And then I was going to bring them in at that point to talk about their side of what they want to do. So we had all same documents. So I was going to bring them in when I got to that point.
Okay, I just want to make sure we include them because they were so kind and excited. And then I didn't know, Jeff Hatlane, if we can post not every building permit, but just the big items when something gets pulled about. I'm still getting questioned about Planet Fitness about every other day or every 2 days. Somebody's going, Jenny, what's going on at Planet Fitness? So I didn't know if we could utilize social media like the police department is doing just to communicate with citizens on things of interest around town.
Yeah, our social media policy, we forwarded it to the town manager's office. So I think Curtis said he got it earlier. And I don't know where it is.
Yeah, that one's probably on me. I think I've gotten it. We have not posted it yet.
We do have an upfit permit for a 5,800 square foot Mexican restaurant.
Nice. Just people are curious. And so I think if we could use the social media, it'd be very helpful. And then, again, tonight I'm wearing my mask, supporting local. Just want to remind everybody that it's a hard time for small business. So if you can take the opportunity to buy local, support local. Alan, our Mayor Joins in Winston said, restaurants really need to make it to May. And they were doing that campaign, Make It to May. So maybe we can buy gift cards at our restaurants to help them make it to May through this COVID, especially with the cold. Not many people go out and eat during the winter time. And so just remember small business. And Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, where did you say the glass was again?
It's right there. Where Tom McDaniel's building is over on Overbridge, the accountant. And the apartments, it's kind of, you get past Tom's, but it's before you get to access storage.
Okay.
You can't miss it.
All right. Yeah, I have
Thank you.
somebody check into it.
Okay, Alderman Boyer.
I was very pleased to see 3 town related people that were recognized by the chamber with their annual awards. Chief Summers with the Jonah Lee Hope Impact Award, Rochelle Joseph, Citizen of the Year Award, and Mayor Morgan, the Arnold King Distinguished Service Award. It just shows how involved and important people from the town are to the success of the community.
Thank you, Bruce.
And that's all I have.
Alderman Cruz.
I just want to comment on the Santa Claus looking character in our video today, and he's looking fine, and I'm sure the family's going to be proud of him there at Christmas.
Alderman Thompson.
I'm assuming you're talking about me, Kenny. Thanks. I have nothing. Congratulations to all the award winners. I'll just get behind Bruce on that one. Way to go. It's well deserved. And happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas.
Alderman Penix.
Yeah. No, I'll echo what Chris said. I congratulate all of our award winners, and I wish everyone happy holidays, and hopefully we'll be over this COVID by next year.
Thank you. And I wanted to express my congratulations to Tim Summers and Rochelle Joseph as well for the great work they've done. And what a fine lineup of promotions we have on the front page of the Kernersville News today in the police department. So it's wonderful how everyone works together to do the best for this community. And I really appreciate the efforts that everyone has put into this meeting and to serving the community this year, which has been, of course, challenging and unexpected in ways we never could have envisioned. So we do have a closed session tonight.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I received a text reminding me I had one other thing I needed to inform the board of. So
All right.
I got to bring it up where I can see it. It's just for your information. As you all are aware, we are getting out of the commercial trash collection business. And as you can imagine, we have a lot of dumpsters out there that we will need to dispose of. So just to let you know, we are looking to dispose of those dumpsters through several different methods. The biggest one we hope will be a private sale, where we will offer to sell the dumpsters to those individuals that currently have the dumpster on site. That will save us the trouble of having to go pick those dumpsters up and bring them back. So we will begin doing that just as soon as we get enough in to do that, and as soon as folks want to start purchasing those dumpsters. Some of them, if we do not get rid of them that way, we will sell them at electronic auction, as we've done in the past on gov deals with items. And then the ones that are probably not worth selling, we will take for scrap metal. So just wanted you to be aware of that. We will start selling some of those off here in the near future. So we've got approximately 350 to 400 dumpsters. So it will take some time to sell those out, but wanted you to know that we are starting that process.
Thank you. Are there any questions, Curtis? All right, we did not have any public hearings this evening, so we do not need to schedule a second meeting for votes on public hearings this week. We do, however, have a closed session and that Mr. Wolf has asked us to conduct. So if there's no further business at this time in open session before the board, could I have a motion for the closed session?
I was on mute. I'll make the motion if you would like. It's my understanding, Madam Mayor, there are certain matters about which our town attorney needs to advise us and which fall within the attorney-client privilege for discussion in closed session, as well as matters of personnel that the board must address. I therefore move, Madam Mayor, that the board go into closed session to confer with our legal counsel under the attorney-client privilege for such purposes, as well as to discuss certain matters of personnel for the town.
So moved.
I have a motion by Alderman Boyer, and I have a second by Alderman Thompson. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson? In favor. Alderman Pinnock?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, the board will go into closed session. Welcome back to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen for December. We've just completed our closed session. Is there any further business before the board this evening? Mr. Swisher?
No, ma'am.
Anybody? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Alderman Thompson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Pinnock.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do a roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer,
In favor, thank you, and also Merry Christmas.
Alderman Cruz,
Thank you, and Merry Christmas to everyone, and a ho, ho, ho.
Alderman Thompson.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix,
Joe?
Oh, in favor, thank you. And Merry Christmas to all.
thank you. Happy holidays, everybody. And thank you for joining us tonight. This meeting is now adjourned.
Blessed Christmas to each of you.